Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
March 26, 2020. The IOC pulls its head out of its Wazoo edition. First up, from the Wall Street Journal, Chevron CFO turns to a crisis-era playbook amid coronavirus oil price rout. Chevron's chief financial officer is resorting to a tested playbook that involves slashing the company's capital expenditures and reducing costs to respond to a sharp decline in oil prices and lower petroleum demand. The oil company has cut $4 billion in CapEx expenses. But the thing about it is it had this playbook from prior recessions and oil price volatility. It really drives home the need to have a crisis management program in place so that you can draw upon that and not have to make it up as you go along. Next up, also from the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, the coronavirus pandemic could elevate ESG factors. Investors are asking more questions about employee benefits, supply chain management, and other ESG priorities. The recent volatility in the financial market due to the coronavirus pandemic could provide investors with an incentive to grill companies on non-financial risks. This was obviously growing in popularity. I've been talking about this and had several podcasts on it as investors flock to companies that have taken steps to manage non-financial risks related to climate change, border diversity, human rights, and indeed human capital. But the pandemic has demonstrated on a large scale the importance of other factors that are paramount to ESG investors. They include disaster preparedness, continuity planning, and employee treatment through benefits such as paid sick leave. So ESG will become more important, perhaps after we get through the coronavirus health crisis. And our next story relates to that, as the pharmaceutical company Gilead said on Wednesday it would no longer seek orphan drug status for an experimental drug being tested as a possible treatment for coronavirus. The FDA had granted this special designation on Monday. It had been in the works for a long time, and the company just took a torrid reputational hit for its receiving this. Bernie Sanders called it truly outrageous, noting that Gilead had received tens of millions of dollars from the federal government to develop the drug. The consumer group Public Citizens and other health groups had said this was unconscionable, and the company actually did the right thing and pulled back. And our final story is the International Olympic Committee, or IOC, never known for actually having a brain or even using its collective brain, finally woke up and postponed the 2020 Summer Olympics for 1 year to 2021. This was in response to many large national organizations, Olympic committees, saying that they would not send athletes this year. Obviously, countries like the United States, Canada, other countries in Western Europe, and even Russia, who have National Olympic Games to determine their citizens who will compete in the Olympics, couldn't have those because of the coronavirus health crisis, and the putting together that number of athletes and that many spectators in one city in July has seemed idiotic for quite some time. The IOC finally woke up and pulled its collective head out of its wazoo. So at least they finally did the right thing, and the Olympics have been postponed for 1 year. I am proud to announce a new podcast premiering this week on the Compliance Podcast Network. It's Compliance and Coronavirus. I wanted to bring some clarity and sanity to the compliance practitioner around coronavirus. So for the next foreseeable future, at least 8 weeks, I'll be podcasting Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of each week on a topic related to coronavirus, COVID-19. Check it out with the Daily Compliance News.